What's up everyone, this is Raven Gunpla and let's get started. So today we are reviewing the real grade RX-93-Nu Hi Nu Gundam from the Mobile Suit Gundam Beltor Chica's Children. Now this beast here is released in 2021 and number 36 in the real grade line. And this beast definitely is fascinating. Special shout out to the sponsor of this channel, Sci-Fi Anime Montreal. They provide different types of plastic model kits, and I will leave the link in the description below so you guys can check them out. There is also a special promo code for Canada only at the moment, so I will leave the link in the description below and somewhere on the screen here. So there you go. Now for quick history regarding this piece here, again, this piece made an appearance in the Mobile Suit Gundam Beltor Chica's Children. This is an alternate interpretation of the Char's counterattack, and the RX-93-V2 Hi Nu Gundam is another interpretation of the RX-93 Nu Gundam. It actually got a different color scheme and design for the backpack and the funnels. Also, the color scheme, I actually like it. It's not bad at all. Now, later into the story, the Londa Bell actually captured a Psychodolga, and it actually comes with like a Psychomu internal frame, and parts of it had been incorporated into the new Gundam, improving its responsiveness via brainwave controls. And of course, the armaments here is actually quite unique as well. So that's it for the history. Let's move forward to the next page, shall we? Now when it comes to the armaments of this unit here, number one, you got the 60mm Vulcan gun located at the forehead. The next one is located at the right forearm. It can be a machine gun, beam gatling, or beam saber depending on the attachment. And for this one here, it will be a machine gun. The next part are the beam sabers. There's one located at the left forearm, which is a basic one. Then you got two located at the funnel racks, and this one here can be turned into a beam saber from the set at the Star Wars Episode 1. And then you got the beam rifle that can be converted into a mega particle cannon. And then the next one is the hyper mega bazooka launcher that had to be connected to the Rakai loom. And I don't think it actually comes with the real grade there. Then you got the new hyper bazooka to 80mm firepower. Then you got your basic shield, and last but not the least, you have your fin funnel, and there's a total of 6 in total. Now this one here can be converted into a defensive or offensive weapon, and since it's a armor rate that pilots the Hi Nu Gundam, there will be a lot of enemies that will have a very hard time. Now when it comes to the issues regarding this unit here, there are issues. Not a whole lot actually, but there are issues. Now the first one, it is the stickers, decal stickers. Yep, I actually used a few, majority worked, but the rest, the eye and the what do you call this, the green one didn't work the way I wanted it to be. I will prefer a water slide for next time. And then the next one are the gold molding. Not everyone liked it. I don't like it, but it's passable. Now the next one, it is actually back heavy. Yes, of course you can actually pose it and it will be able to stand the way you pose it, but for me I ended up using an action base to keep it. Now for Bandai to fix the problem, it actually gave the Hi Nu here with a special attachment to stand on its own. Now last but not the least, it is actually building the headpiece of the Hi Nu here. I actually had a lot of trouble building the headpiece. Yep, that's it for the issues. Now when it comes to the features of this piece here, there are plenty, which is I'm quite happy. Now when it comes to the backpack, there are so many features there. You can actually install the new hyper bazooka at the backpack itself, and then you have the articulated fin funnel racks and the hidden beam saver feature. Then you actually got the thrusters that is almost located at the top of the backpack that you can actually move around as well. Now when it comes to the new hyper bazooka, you can extend it, and same goes for the handle, which actually gives it more articulation. Now, when it comes to the beam rifle next, there's actually a piece that you can retract out and you can actually install at the backpack of like the back skirt of the Hi Nu. Now, when it comes to the fin funnel itself, there is a special attachment, well, a slot for the effect parts, so you can emulate. Now, you can decide to build one yourself, or you can actually wait and purchase the P-Bandai version. I had to say it. Now, the next part of the feature is the shoulder piece of the Hi Nu. Now, there are multiple pieces there that shows the internal structure of the Hi Nu, so you can actually do some diorama if you want to. Same goes for the cockpit. There are two features there. There's the basic one that you can actually just pull up and it will show the internal frame, internal cockpit part of it, or the whole piece itself that you can actually retract out. Now, the downside is there's no actual seat for the pilot. Now, the next feature, it is the arms itself. Now, for the right arm, you got the beam Gatling, and for the left arm, you got the beam saber. Okay, which is quite fascinating. And then for the front skirt, there's really not a whole lot of details there, but or features, but the back skirt itself, I'm quite happy because you can actually retract out the blue piece to have some verniers, and then the middle back piece, you can actually, I believe, pull it down and you can actually install the what do you call that now? The beam rifle. Well, now the next part, it is the legs itself. The legs actually have some really nice features. Now, the back of the leg, you can actually show some of the details there by pulling the piece out at the back, which is the easiest part. Now, the next part, it is the side of the legs. So both legs side by side, you can actually pull out the piece, but the problem is they are hard to take out, so you got to be careful when you're doing it, and because you might end up breaking it, so don't force it. Okay, now the last special feature are these silver parts near the bottom there that you can actually retract out, which is actually quite nice. Now, for the feet doesn't have any features there, but there's some really great details. So that is it for the features of the Hi Nu Gundam. Now, when it comes to the parts here, there's actually not a whole lot. Now, these pieces here are for the, I believe, the parts for the fin funnels for the new Gundam that you actually won't need at all, so you can actually just set this aside for future project there. Now, there's another one here and I don't know what this is for, so yeah, I'm gonna set this aside for future use. And then you got this item here for your backpack, which is very useful to keep this from falling down. Okay, and then action poses, which is quite nice. Now, the other items here are the pair of open hands here, and then you got a pair of beam saber hands, plus you got your beam rifle hands, right beam rifle hand there. Then for the Hi Nu itself, the one currently equipped is the close-fisted one, as you guys can see here. Now, the other item that comes with the Hi Nu here are the blue beam saber effect parts. Okay, now let's move on to the knob seam lines details, and of course there will be some issues that you guys will notice. Now, the first issue here are the propellant here. As you guys can see, this piece here will definitely become loose over time. As you guys can see, it's already doing that. Now, the reason for that are the two pieces here. It's actually this connectors. There are actually two pieces that you actually had to put together, and I don't know why Bandai did that. Now, of course, you can fix this with Tamiya cement. Now, the next part, it is the seam line here. It's actually not the seam line, but more of a knob that you can actually sand properly if you guys want to. Same goes for the other side. Now, there's seam lines here at the propellant, but you won't notice it, but closer inspection you will. Okay, now let's move on to the Hyper Bazooka here, the new Hyper Bazooka. Now there is a seam line there that you can actually, very minor, you can actually, what do you call that again? Sand it properly. It's actually quite nice. Really, really fascinating indeed. Okay, up next it is the beam rifle. Okay, the beam rifle here. The top one definitely have a nub there where I'm pointing at, sorry if you guys can see, and then there's a seam line there, again proper sanding. And now the silver, you can definitely notice the nub there because it's of a darker color. That's the downside of the silver pieces and the gold pieces, they get to be a little bit more darker and noticeable. Yeah, as you guys can see there. And now up next, the shield itself. The shield, it is actually not bad at all. Okay, now move on to the fin funnel here. Now there's 6 in total, but I'll just show you guys 2. This is when it is actually not deployed. Now if you're actually gonna be putting it in a what do you call that now, attack mode, there is a way. Now if you do it wrongly, this piece here will pop out eventually, so you got to be careful when you're doing it. Okay, don't rush it. Take your time and it will definitely look good. As you guys can see, not bad at all. Now, and the details just fascinating. Now let's move on to the beast itself. Okay, now as you guys can see, this is the Hi Nu Gundam, and closer look here on the top, not bad at all for the details and for the headpiece there. You guys will actually notice that there is a seam line there, but then they did their best to kind of blend it in together. Now when it comes to the rest of the details, as you guys can see, not bad at all. I'm actually quite astounded. Now of course I have my own displeasure when it comes to the gold pieces, as you guys can see, but overall not bad. And the seam lines are well hidden, and the nubs as well, so you won't even notice it unless you literally take it apart. Okay, wow, just wow. Okay, now of course when it comes to the details, the other issue is when you're actually popping out those special details, you will actually have a little bit of a hard time. So this one here, you get to be extra careful, otherwise you might actually damage the piece. So take your time when pulling out those special features that this unit have and avoid scratching it. Okay, so that's it for the nub, seam lines, details, and other issues that I have missed. Okay, now I'm just gonna take this piece off so you guys can see that that I literally had trouble putting the headpiece together, and there's still a seam line there, but it is well hidden, so I'm leaving it as is. Now let's move on to the articulation test. We will start off with the fin funnel itself. As you guys can see, there's articulated parts here, but you got to be careful. It is already pretty clear that the pieces will actually start popping out, so you got to be careful when you're doing so. But once you actually succeed on putting it into attack mode, it is actually quite simple. Now if you want to put it back into like just put it back in the funnel rack, there you go. Now when it comes to the beam rifle here, the only other articulated parts is this piece here, and again this is for installing it at the back skirt. Okay, now the next piece is the new Hyper Bazooka, as this can be extended out and then pushed it back in. It's actually quite secure, and you get the handle that is actually articulated. Now for the shield itself, you actually get the slot here, and this is the only articulated parts there. There you go. And then you have the backpack. Okay, you got your propellant tank here, which is articulated to a certain degree, and there's some really good range of motion there. Now for the thrusters, barely any mobility there. Now this is the funnel racks there, so you can actually install it here, and you can actually move it around. So you guys can see this piece here actually moves as well. Okay, now this piece, as you guys can see, articulated parts there. And then you got your beam saver here that you can actually, if done properly, you can actually extend it out, but right now it's kind of hard to do it because I just trimmed my nails. Okay, and then you do have some articulated parts here. Now for the verniers here, the top one, there's some really nice feature there, as you guys can see. Okay, so that's for the articulated parts of the backpack and the rest of the weapon. Now let's move on to the beast itself. Now we're gonna do this by taking this apart here, as you guys can see. And the headpiece actually got some really good range of motion there. But if you're not careful enough, I just realized that now it will pop out. But you can actually install that properly, very easy. You do have features here, articulated parts. And I kind of forgot how to do this. Oops. But you guys have seen the video of the extended parts there, so you actually get some good range of motion for the arms. Okay. And for the waist here, you can't actually just side to side there, as you guys can see. And the backpack, and then you get the forearm here. Okay, and then for the beam saber, oops, can you guys see that? There you go. And yeah, that's it for the upper torso. Let's move on to the legs itself. Now the back skirt here, yeah, I shouldn't have trimmed that much because I can't just pop this out now. There's some articulated back skirt, front skirt, side skirt, which is actually quite nice. And that's actually a ball joint. And let's just remove this piece here. And then you can actually... Boy, that is actually really hard when you have a trim nails there. Okay, and this can do a split, which is actually quite nice. And then for the legs itself, look at that beauty there. There's the internal components there. Okay, so definitely got some really great articulation there. And for the feet itself, that's how far it can go. Okay, that's it for the articulation test. Now let's move on to my final thoughts. Okay, so here are my final thoughts regarding this piece here. Is this unit worth getting? Definitely a yes. Of course, there are certain issues with this. Nothing's perfect. The first one are the dreaded decal stickers. I'm not a fan of it. I did manage to successfully use some, but for the eyes, that was a disaster. Okay, the next part is the headpiece itself. The headpiece, as you guys have seen earlier, there is actually the seam line there that I just had trouble. It took me 30 minutes to build. Now up next is the gold and silver molding. It's not perfect. Was kind of hoping that Bandai will have changed that, and but then it will take time. Then the next part are the knobs and the seam lines. The seam lines themselves are well hidden and not bad at all, but the knobs, it's pretty what do you call that now? You can actually see it at the beam rifle itself because of the darker color. But for the gold, you won't even notice them at all unless you take it apart. Okay, now articulation wise, I give it an 8 out of 10. And when it comes to the extra part, not bad. You can actually recycle it. Now the other thing that I'm disappointed about are the what do you call that now? the attachment for the fin funnels effect parts. They didn't include it. It's gonna be a P Bandai sadly, or you can actually scratch build one. Now the next part is you will need to use the specific action base to actually get this to stand properly, just to let you guys know. Okay, and that should be a cheap purchase there separately. And yeah, I think that's it. Really positive feedback regarding this beast here. And so I'm gonna end this video now. Thank you guys for watching, and a special shout out to the sponsor of this channel, Sci-Fi Anime Montreal. They are actually providing a special discount for GMPS members and for my viewers, for within Canada only at the moment. So if any purchase $50 and above, there's a special code that you guys can see right now, so you guys can check them out. And yeah, and I'm actually looking forward to actually building my next project, which Sci-Fi Anime Montreal provided, and you guys will actually see it at the next video, so look forward to it. Okay, that's it. Have a good day, good night, afternoon, wherever you are, and remember, have fun, relax, and enjoy. I will see you guys on the next video.